Good afternoon, everybody. We are in what the National Weather Service calls the 5-day cone of uncertainty. And I would say to the people of Jacksonville, we've been here before. My wife, my kids, your families, we've all been here and been through this before. So we know how to prepare, right? And we know how to take care of each other. There's still a lot of uncertainty here. I am declaring, effective 3 o'clock today, a declaration of emergency. That's effective 3 p.m. today. I will brief the City Council and the Council President tomorrow at 3 p.m. That declaration of emergency means just this. It means that we have access to resources and funds so we can move quickly in the event we need them. Again, I want to stress we still have uncertainty on the timing of the event and what the event looks like. The superintendent is here. We've spoken and agreed that all public schools will have early dismissal tomorrow, and they will be closed on Friday. The city will close on Friday. It will be closed for all non-essential personnel. Monday will be determined, to be determined for Monday and Tuesday, depending on how the weekend goes. Now, hear me on this, very clearly on this. We are in a unique situation when we are still days out from the storm impact, but we have a storm that is facing potentially the entire state. So we don't have the information available right now, the storm track, to say whether or not there would be an evacuation today. But here's what we know, because evacuations that are happening in South Florida, we could have major traffic issues in the event of a mandatory evacuation. So I am encouraging, strongly encouraging, and telling you that if I were a visitor, if I were in zone A or B right now, I would prepare and I would begin to leave. If the storm continues on this track, or if it worsens, we are likely to see mandatory evacuations start on Friday. I can't stress the importance of this. This is a unique event with a storm facing the entire state and people traveling from the south of us to escape the storm. That could mean major road clogs. Let's get ahead of this. If you have the ability to leave, if you're a visitor, if you're in zone A or B and you have the ability, please leave. If you don't have the ability, we will be announcing the opening of shelters on Friday, so you will know where they are on Friday, and you will have access to them with plenty of time before there's an impact from the storm. I encourage everybody again to check out jacksready.com, and I'm going to keep repeating myself. Have a plan. Know your zone. Go find your zone now if you don't know your zone, and prepare a kit. For those of you that are looking for water, I would remind you, you can take your tap water and you can put it in jugs right now. It is drinkable. Do it, store it, and be prepared for the storm. We've been in touch with the military, the Navy, and as I said when I opened, this community, our families have been through this together. We will be prepared, we have a plan, and we will get through whatever comes. Pray for the best, prepare for the worst. With that, if there's any questions for the elected officials up here, the sheriff, on road closures, road travel, etc., we'd be happy to collectively answer them.
Are evacuations going to be different?
Oh, I'm sorry. The evacuation, the declaration of emergency is going to be issued effective 3 p.m. here today. All of the mayors of the beaches are also issuing that at what times? 4 o'clock Atlantic, 3 o'clock Jax Beach,
3 o'clock Neptune.
3 o'clock Neptune Beach.
Is there anything we need to know about traffic at this point? You had mentioned the sheriff is here.
Sure, I'll let the sheriff talk about, again, unique traffic flow issues we could be facing.
Yeah, Jim, nothing new in terms of traffic flow. So, but as the mayor said and you know, spelled it out pretty clearly, you've got large amounts of people leaving a mandatory evacuation area in South Florida with really two main arteries to come up to the state, 75 and 95. And we expect a heavy flow of traffic coming from South Florida in the next couple of days. So, you know, as he mentioned, if you wait till Friday, if we anticipate mandatory evacuations on Friday and you wait till Friday to try to leave, you could find yourself, you know, on the interstate moving 10 miles an hour. If you leave on Thursday, you can be running 50 miles an hour on the interstate. So we don't want to have a repeat of Hurricane Floyd many years ago where everybody got stuck on the interstate. So we're encouraging people, you know, if you have an ability to leave and that's what you believe you want to do, go ahead and do it now. Because again, this storm is a lot different than Matthew with just the volume of people, you know, potentially 500,000 people moving up the state through Jacksonville to try to get north. So that's why we're talking about traffic and talking about the evacuations early.
Sure. Speaking of evacuations, they were mandatory during Matthew. Obviously, some people complied, some people didn't. Are they going to be enforced this time in terms of mandatory evacuation? Is there a plan for that, or is this going to be the same as last time?
So you'll never see a policeman dragging somebody out of their house, if that's the question. So at the end of the day, when we say mandatory evacuations, that's really the strongest term that we can put on, the decision that you need to leave the area that you're in. I think that clears it. I'll let the mayor add to that. But at the end of the day, if it's a mandatory evacuation, we believe strongly that you should leave. And if you stay, that's your decision, and you're taking that risk.
Mayor, you had mentioned that city services are going to be closed on Friday, with people being sent home probably tomorrow as well. Does that include like trash pickup? Because people will be getting ready, be putting debris out, things like that ahead of the storm. Is that something that people need to know that that's not going to be picked up?
Will we have trash pickup?
We will keep trash pickup on Friday.
Trash pickup will, for now, continue as planned, and if that changes, you'll hear from us for sure tomorrow.
But all government services, those types of things, will be shut down.
That's right.
Friday. What would you suggest for businesses?
I would suggest that if you are in a business in the zone A or B, you're a small business, take seriously. Again, not mandatory likely until Friday, but if you have the ability and wherewithal to leave now, that's the best thing to do, given the current track of the storm. Jim, again, this is a very unique situation. We have a storm that's 5 days out on uncertainty, the cone of uncertainty, yet it's threatening the entire state. So we've got all this traffic that's flowing here. So if we wait to begin talking about evacuations in zones that we know could be problematic, we could be in a situation where the sheriff said 10 miles an hour. Gosh, it could be worse. So if you have the ability and wherewithal, please go. Businesses that are open now, not in those zones, that are, again, taking care of people's needs, kits, water, supplies, etc. We encourage you. We are not under a threat right now. We're just trying to ensure that the roads aren't clogged when that time comes, if it comes on Friday. And I would also stress to people that I know this storm is a monster, and I recognize that people are running around and feeling some panic. Let's calm down and go about our business of preparing the kit and knowing our zone, ensuring, talking to our families, our kids, our relatives, our grandparents, working together as a community to make sure that we're all calm and we can take the necessary steps to be safe.
So, Mayor, is this a sure thing that 12 shelters, you mentioned 12 earlier in the day, 12 will open on Friday?
Director.
Yes.
Can you say where?
We're going to have to decide exactly which ones we're going to open depending upon where the biggest need is, but we're going to be starting to push all that information out with the media's help and through our apps between now and when we open them on Friday morning, potentially.
So it may or may not be all 12?
No, we're planning on opening 12.
And I would also add that, again, people that hear us asking them and encouraging them to leave now if they're in these zones, if you don't have the ability to leave, don't panic. Shelters will be open on Friday, and you know where those shelters are.
Mayor, what would it take if we have an evacuation to open up the shoulders on westbound I-10? What would have to happen for that to be done?
That's an FDOT. Sheriff, you want to address that?
So we've had some initial conversations about that. Keep in mind that you've got two arteries coming from South Florida, 75 and 95. So opening 10 up between 95 and 75 really doesn't help a whole lot and creates a big mess at 10 and 75. So again, part of the conversation, but we don't anticipate that happening in this traffic plan. So,
Sheriff, which roadways are we encouraging? If you're evacuating, if you're taking our advice, where should they exit?
so I would obviously take 95 north. I-10 west is still a good option, and anywhere north and west, based on the forecast that we've seen, north and west of Jacksonville, you'll be in good shape. So, and again, if you do it tomorrow or you do it tonight or whenever if you have the ability to do that, you're not going to have any issues with traffic.
I know this would be for the beaches, Mayor, but with the voluntary evacuation, now, obviously people are going to be concerned about safety, about their homes and the patrols out there. I don't know, Mayor Latham, if you want to address anything on that because the beaches aren't going to be closed, correct? You'll still be able to go back and forth.
Correct. As Mayor Curry said, we're looking to continue to monitor the storm. If things don't change, we're looking at Friday going into this evacuation. At that time, we'll look at other legislative or legal parameters to set, including closing the beaches, potentially securing alcohol sales, potentially looking at curfews. Those will be discussed when we get with the other two mayors when we get closer to the storm. But it's important. I think one of the questions AG brought up about what does it mean if it's a mandatory evacuation. I can tell you in the strongest possible terms, it means there may not be police and fire there if you call us.
And I would also say, I would hate to be in a situation where nobody took our advice right now and evacuated these zones, and we get to Friday and all this traffic is moving and the storm gets even worse. I don't even want to imagine that scenario. So if you can, go.
Sheriff, what's the plan for an officer increase? Have that yet?
So we have different shifts that we put the officers on to try to maximize the time that we can use them on the street. So we put that plan in place. That will begin more than likely Saturday. And then we have to, obviously the aftermath is what we're concerned with as well. So, and if we close the beaches, we'll help participate in that as well. So there's a lot of still things in discussion and the plans that we're working on now to make sure that we have the people on the street when we need them.
Now, I know last year with Hurricane Matthew, and I know you said you won't be dragging anybody out of their house, but I know that at the very end there, as Matthew was about to hit, there were officers going into homes, checking on people, the elderly especially, right before Matthew was hit in the beaches area especially. Is that something that officers plan on doing here again?
So look, we want to encourage people to go to shelters. Obviously, if you have the ability to do that, the director can talk about the way that the Emergency Operations Center can assist getting people to shelters, that type of thing. But there will be a point in this storm where we may not be able to respond. Again, we're 5 days out. Based on what we know about the storm, we could get to that period at some point. So again, as Mayor Latham mentioned, when you talk about mandatory evacuation, you could be on your own. If you call 911, we may not be able to get to you. So that's all part of the equation. Prior to the storm, we're going to be out there working like we always do, but there will be a window where that's going to be hard for us to do. And at some point in time, we've got to think about the safety of the first responders. So we'll factor that in. And as soon as we have the ability to get back out on the street, we'll do that. But that's all part of these storms. As we work through this, you've got to, there's always going to be that window where we may have to withdraw and not be able to respond.
I know this would be for the EOC director, but are people calling special needs? Is that situation taken care of, or do you know everything for those people that are going to need extra help?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do appreciate your assistance yesterday in getting the word out about special needs. That's one of the questions we fielded. The phone has been ringing constantly. We've been registering people who are special needs clients and making arrangements to assist them in the event that they do need to be evacuated. So we're working really hard to take care of that part of the community.
And nursing homes as well. I mean, I know we've seen some of those devastating pictures in Harvey, and I know, but have all nursing homes been contacted, and are they aware? And
Yeah, as a course of business, nursing homes are required to have a plan that's an effective plan. We're working with them to ensure that if we do get the bad weather, that they're going to follow those plans. Obviously, if there's a situation where it becomes an emergency, we'll respond, but we do encourage those facilities to execute the plans that they've already developed.
And I want to say that, when people think about the impact of storms, we think of the actual storm itself. We have the storm, we have the surge, we have potential flooding, and I want to loop back to the traffic thing, which is very unique in this situation because of what's happening to the entire state. When the sheriff and law enforcement and experts in traffic tell me, one of the first things that they tell me is, Mayor, we could be facing a traffic issue if we don't get ahead of this thing now. That's serious. I take that very seriously, and I'm asking the people of Jacksonville to take that seriously as well. All right.